And it's another beautiful Utah morning today. My yard is slowly coming into shape. Um, right now, we got spring is in full bloom. There's all kinds of stuff growing. Everything's growing in the span of a day or two. You start to see weeds pop up. My wife spent yesterday out here with the weed whacker because I can't really mow with those trenches across, and it's just a mix of grass and weeds anyway. So she spent about 3 hours working the weed whacker yesterday, and we knocked it all down. But it can easily get out of control. Spent the weekend digging mainly, and it's something I wanted to talk about today. So I made some mistakes in the planning, and that goes along with when you're doing something for yourself. Best laid plans, and still made some errors. So I figured I'd talk a little bit about what that is today, or what that mistake was. And really, the big mistake I made was I don't know how big it is, but I used a lot of elbows and a lot of T's in my design, and I'm using poly. And one of the issues with using elbows and T's is it reduces water flow, reduces the pressure basically, and I don't know that my sprinkler heads would have enough power to do what they need to do to reach the distances I need them to reach if the power is reduced. Now I'm using a 2 horsepower pump, but that might that should be enough to correct it. But for me being an engineer, I don't know that that's good enough. So I decided to spend the weekend figuring out what I need to do, and just to give a demonstration, like, or an idea of what I'm talking about. So right here, I would have a line coming across, and that's an elbow right there. And then I go right there, and that's a T. So you can have, there's no way, well, the way I see it, there's no way you're designing without some elbows and T's, but I had an excessive amount. So what I'm doing is Wendy and I walked around the property, and we looked at all the different trenches, and we made some notes on where I'm gonna fix those. And the way to fix that is I can take this elbow, and instead of going this way and teeing, I can just curve it, and it'll be a slow graded curve, but that would at least eliminate that elbow, and it's like a bottleneck. So get rid of that. It just means I have to do some more hand trenching, and that's not exactly something fun, but I'd rather catch the error now than do it. Find out that I've got everything buried and all my lines in, and then I'm not reaching the distances I need to, and my whole lawn's not getting water the way it needs to. So I'd rather catch it now. So um, I'm going to just take a few minutes. I'm going to go down over in this area this morning. I'm going to go talk about some of the things I've done over the weekend, some of the trenching I've already done, and that's where we'll head next. So the strategy I'm taking is I'm doing every zone one at a time, and I'm just getting it completely prepped, one zone at a time, clearing trenches, digging new trenches where I decided I want to curve it rather than elbow it. I had a lot of elbows, and I went down and talked to the plumbing supply place, and they said that I was going to be on the border of reducing my flow significantly. So I figured it made sense to get rid of them, and I've been able to get rid of quite a few. So this little area, on a separate note, now I'm going to get into what I've been doing. This little area, it's just 4 heads. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. And I put this little zone in because I didn't want, there's concrete under all that dirt. I didn't want the concrete getting soaked every day. It's older, and there's no point to wear it down any more than the normal elements do already. So I have a main line running through here. That's going to be coming from the front. So I tunneled. I just fell in there. That was awesome. I tunneled underneath the sidewalk yesterday, and it took me about 40 minutes. I thought that was going to be a little longer, so you can see I kind of came out over here, and then I was originally going this way. I had trenched this with the trencher. Yesterday I dug this out by hand instead, and now I'm going to have a big box here with I'm going to have 3 valves right there and 2 valves there going the other way. I had to dig this yesterday by hand. I had gone down about 5 or 6 inches because I have electric coming out right out of this window. coming out this way, and I don't know where it goes, so I didn't want to go, and it's about 1.5 or 2 feet down. I didn't want to hit it, so I figured it was better to hand trench this general area, which I kept. It took me about an hour and a half to trench it from about 5-6 inches to about 1 foot where I want it. And then down here I got hung up twice with the hydraulic lift the other day. I had this giant root right here, and I was gonna cut it, but I just dug under it. I can go right underneath it. I'm worried if I cut it, it'll start growing down into the pipe I'm laying. I also had some galvanized I cut out right here. That's one side of it. That's the other side of it.
Lawnmower!
I had to stop filming because there was a little bit too much noise in the background. So here's the tools I've been using mainly just to clear my trenches. I just use a pickaxe. The soil's soft enough that the pickaxe is going right through it, so it's been surprisingly easy. I mean, it's tiring, but you know, it's work. It is what it is. And then I use the trenching shovel. I just use that to clear out the little trench I'm building. It makes it nice and easy. The trenching shovel is really useful to get under stuff like that giant root. And I use the trenching shovel to get through the sidewalk over there. What I got here is the piece of galvanized I cut out. I generally leave the galvanized if I can and cut under it, but this one was bent and it was so close to the surface that it was actually sticking above where I'm going to cover it with dirt now, so I just ripped it out. It got bent when I caught it with the tooth on the chain that does the trenching on the hydraulic trencher. It actually catches on it, and it catches around it like this, and there's so much power it actually pulls the back of the trencher up if you don't disengage it. So I learned that the hard way a couple times and got lifted up in the air. And some of the other stuff that we're looking at, this is just common and sort of indicative of what we have to do still. I've got a couple heads I'm going to have to run tees off of, like put one here, and there's going to be one over there. Same thing, I have to trench that still. I couldn't get the machine in here to do it. It's way too tight. And then the same over here, I was going to put elbows here, but what I'm doing now is I'm just going to trench a curve. So I'm going to be using a little bit more flexible. So there's two kinds of poly I'm using. One is 160. It's really, it's 160 PSI, and it's very hard to work with. It doesn't flex very easily. The other one is roughly 125 PSI, and that's a little bit easier to work with. So I'm going to be using that as my lateral lines, meaning from the valve to the zones. Some more trenching I have to do. I'm going to curve this line again so I don't have to put an elbow in, and then I have to trench all along here. And there's the lawnmower, so I'm going to cut it off here.
Lawnmower, you're killing me.
So I just moved over to the other side of the house so I don't hear the lawnmower in the background. It's still there, but it's way quieter. So this is going to be where my main and another line in my zone is running, and I have to do some more trenching here to curve it now. I don't want the elbow there to reduce the pressure again, and I may curve that one. I don't think I'm going to, because I have to have a T anyway, because the main goes this way and that way, and if I have to have a T, I might as well just leave it either way, because the T's actually, they claim reduce pressure too. That's the trade-off, one of the trade-offs to using poly versus PVC. So I just thought I'd cover some of the stuff we have going on. My wife was out here, she cleared this guy out, and here's a good case where I'm leaving the galvanized right here. I was able to get in there with the pickaxe. There's some galvanized there, and I've got a good 5 or 6 inches under it, so I don't see any point killing myself with the Sawzall to get it out of there when it's not bothering me, and I can go right underneath it. And I've got another one over here. Here's another case where I bent it. I caught it with a hydraulic. This is the first one I hit, and it lifted me up, and I didn't have any idea what was going on. You can even actually see the head right here, but that thing got all bent. So that hydraulic's got some serious power, and you can see the size of the roots. I mean, I'm 6 feet from a giant spruce tree, I think this guy is, so you can see where that would be an issue. But this is kind of what we have going on. So I guess I'm gonna just talk a little bit about the mental aspect of what we're doing now. So there's a mental aspect to doing something like this. I mean, taking on a project of this size, for me, I've never done anything like this before. I've never operated a hydraulic trencher, designed a sprinkler system, and I had to learn everything that I'm doing. And I've made some mistakes, like the mistakes with the elbows, and it's, it's a little bit daunting at times. And I'll be honest, when I first heard that after I had trenched, I was thinking to myself, great, now I have to spend $200 more renting a trencher to correct my mistakes. But instead of panicking and thinking it wasn't going to work, I trusted that I would know what I was doing and be able to fix it. So we came out here and we walked around the property, and we looked at the places we could eliminate elbows. And the more I did it for each zone. I have 10 zones that are sprinklers and 3 that are drip. I realized that it wasn't that much, and it was just a little bit of sweat equity, so I went with it. But it is mentally draining sometimes. Like waking up today and taking a long breakfast made a huge difference for me. But I'm optimistic, and when I'm doing it, it's kind of like when a dog is running and they're so happy. That's kind of what I'm like when I'm out here working. I think that's the best analogy I can give it. I know I'm doing, and I'm putting my vision into play, and I just trust in the process and know that I'm making mistakes. It really just comes from having faith in yourself. That's how I got through my engineering degree. I was 40 years old. I decided to go back and get an engineering degree. I was unhappy. I was unchallenged. I had a good paying job, and I hated it. I hated every second of it. It wasn't what I wanted to do. And I decided to go get the engineering degree, and I knew nothing about electrical engineering, not a thing. I just knew it would be very hard and a challenge. And I figured, if there's all these electrical engineers in the world, why not me? And when I think of something like this is tiny in comparison. So kind of like Einstein's theory of relativity. It's relative to what you're doing. If I made it through my engineering degree, I can make it through a backyard sprinkler design. And that's what I'm doing. So, and part of the reason I'm doing these videos is my parents are in New Jersey. I'm out here, and I miss them, and I haven't gotten a chance to get home. Moving cost a lot of money. Buying a house cost a lot of money. Finishing school, I didn't work for almost 5 years. So there's a lot of little things I had going on, and I just haven't been able to visit as frequently. And now with COVID, everybody's locked down. So there's a way for them to be involved in my life. And then I share it with my other family and friends. And I think it's just a nice way to share who I am and what I'm doing. And it actually provides an incredible creative outlet for me. So I get something to do. I get the camera out for a few minutes, shoot some video. I go in and I edit it, and it's fun. So I hope you enjoy it, and thanks for watching.